So that's the simple secret of it, is the getting with it instead of being out of it. And then the illumination and interest, excitement, all that, a full array, then it immediately begins to communicate to the other people. You know, it's not a labored process, right? These commune, come is with, mune is one, you know, communication. When you let the vibes of your whole sensory apparatus speak, then people pick up on it right away. So, welcome to the Wellsprings at Image Grove. Today, Jerry Riverstone and I, Janet K. Bloom, are meeting in depth with two other people who practice eidetic imaging. One here in person, Karen, and the other, E, who has sent us an image in writing. Even though we're at long distances from each other, we can meet in depth by engaging in sustained concentration on our animating eidetic inner motion pictures. Following how these inner movies keep moving us, move by move, frame by frame, we discover what motivates us and see what new directions we're ready to take. To make the distinguishing feature of this new practice dramatically clear to begin with, I'm asking Jerry and Karen to introduce themselves by saying what drew them into doing eidetic imaging and giving us some pictures showing what this practice has done for them overall so far and what it is doing for them now. After this, we'll demonstrate reciprocal vision so you can see how practicing eidetic empathy imaging lets us commune with each other, feeling more and more at one and hopeful as we keep bringing new inner depth perspectives to light. You will gradually realize that what enables us to make so much deep and clear sense to ourselves and each other is seeing where the action is. By centering our attention on the animating inner motion pictures that let us see and sense and show others exactly what is moving and motivating us. These images came to light in the 1950s when my mentor, Dr. Akhter Ahsen, discovered that the images known as eidetics, and then thought to be after images and photographic memories, are, in fact, the four-sided images that make the body-mind connection. He then developed new steps for concentration that let us move our minds out of backward-looking, retrospective, memory and history-oriented consciousness into forward-looking, prospective, future-oriented consciousness. Ahsen defined eidetics scientifically as ISMs, images always involving somatic body responses that are meaningful. This definition quite simply distinguishes eidetics from all the other images we're used to going on: memories, fantasies, dreams, pipe dreams, hypnotic images, archetypes, and metaphors, all of which are IM images that do not keep making the body-mind connection in dramatically clarifying ways. This definition gives us a new medium of consciousness to go on, a language of inner light in action. When we engage in sustained ISM concentration, staying in touch with our bodies, carefully noticing how each move in an image is moving us, we become fascinated with the transformative gifts and powers of imagination, which ordinary memory-oriented consciousness overlooks. This self and mutually illuminating and transformative range of imagination is alive and well deep down in all of us, waiting for us to discover the lucidity it brings out in us. So now, let's see, Jerry, would you please give us a few pictures that will let us see and sense what practicing eidetic imaging is doing for you? And I particularly would like you to begin by telling us how it took you 30 years to get through, okay?
Sure. Yeah. So it's an interesting story how Janet and I got connected. A couple of years ago, I was going through all my belongings and I wanted to pare them down as much as possible. And I was going through a box of papers and I found this old, wrinkled, dog-eared flyer that was clearly made with a typewriter with a nice hand-drawn sketches of some trees on there. And I started reading it and I said, man, this is good. What is this? And I read it and it was this flyer talking, it was talking something about how we have these powers within us of imagination that we are not using, but it's a facility we have inside ourselves where it can help us get in touch with our wholeness in different ways. It can help us open up to the natural world more deeply. And it can help us, somehow I think it also alluded to helping us untangle some of our inner life and move forward with more clarity. So I read this flyer, I said, God, this is what all these things are things I'm interested in right now. And I looked and down at the bottom was the name Janet Bloom with a phone number. This flyer is over 30 years old. And I finally tracked Janet down. I found a website, and then we started doing these calls, and we really hit it off. So that's what got me into it. And then you asked for a couple of images, Janet. I won't, I'm not going to go into the whole image because I don't think you want that much time on it, but I can mention a little bit that one of the first images I did with Janet, she was, I believe, inviting me to see my father and myself in a pleasant spot in nature, something like that. And I did that. The first thing that came to mind is, okay, I'm sitting with Dad in the rowboat out on the Mohawk River, and I'm maybe about 10 years old, and I see the boat, I see the green metal rowboat, and I'm starting to feel something happening inside, and then I look and I can see all these details in the boat. See the tackle box, the oars. These are things I haven't seen in decades. And as I see those, feeling some tingling in my arms, and I'm feeling very drawn into the image. And then I look and I see my father's face, and it was kind of like, I was speechless because I saw my father really for the first time since he passed away over 30 years ago. 30, 34, about 34 years ago. And I could, in the image, I could see my dad's face. I can see his eyes. I can see him looking at me, and I can really feel what it's like to be with my dad for the first time since he passed away. And yeah, kind of hard to describe. I mean, I can describe the physical sensation I feel now as, once again, this kind of tingling in my arms, and I feel it in my chest as warmth. And the emotion has something in common with grief, but it's more just this feeling of awe, really, than grief. A little bit of grief, like, oh, there's Dad. I miss Dad. But he's so present in this image that it's more just awe and joy that I feel in my chest again, this warmth. Feel my feet. You know, I'm still in the rowboat in this image, so I look down and I see my feet on it's an aluminum rowboat. See my feet on the bottom of the rowboat. So that's one image. After that, no one could have convinced me that there's not something in this imaging that's powerful and real. Someone could have said, "Oh, that's just a figment of your imagination," and I would just say, "No, you don't get it. You can't tell me because I just experienced it myself, and I know it so directly, so firsthand that you're not going to talk me out of this." So there was that image, and then we've done a lot of imaging since then. You know, some of the imaging is just very enjoyable, like seeing myself next to a stream and seeing the details of the water, the flowing water, and I could, you know, once I get going on that, I can go for quite a while. But some of the imaging has also gone into a deeper place where it's helped me realize that I've been carrying some things with me from my early years that I didn't really know I was carrying with me, deep down, you know, so deep down, probably because when some of these things took root inside me, some of these images, I was very young, less than 5 years old. So it's like it wasn't in my normal memory that I could pull it out. But by doing the imaging, for example, I had an image some months ago where my dad comes home from work and I'm playing out in the yard. And I noticed that when I see my dad, I'm looking at him to try to see is Dad in a good mood? Kind of, is it safe? Or is Dad preoccupied and in a bad, uptight mood? And then just feeling how that was showing up in my body, I realized, wow, this is a significant image because the way I'm feeling it in my body is actually quite familiar. Maybe as like tension in my chest, in my face, just shallow breathing, like almost like I need to just, what it's telling me in my body is I need to just freeze and look and assess where Dad is at for safety. And either the first or second time I shared that image, Janet had me follow it back into the past. And a lot came up. An image of my dad losing his temper. And then following back the feelings in the image, it ended up in this image of myself as a baby in a crib with no one else around, and myself, little baby, just having a full-on tantrum, this little infant turned red and just feeling this real like tightness in me. And once again, I won't go into it all now, but that just the imaging had a life of its own, and just by sticking with it, going back and forth between the seeing and then the sensing in my emotions and in my body, it helped me in a way that's hard to describe, but it helped move some things inside me emotionally at a deep level, so that at the end of it, just felt this sense of almost being cleansed of something and more clear, more in touch with a sense of safety, a sense of being held. Because where that image ends up is with a grandmother holding the baby. And so if we just zoom in at the beginning of that image and then at the end, the beginning is like young Jerry like looking to see if the situation is safe. And the end is just this feeling of like seeing that baby being held, like, ah, it's like this sinking down, relaxing, breathing. And that didn't all happen in one session, but that was spread out over a few sessions. So by sticking with it, sometimes it takes time for these things to move through to resolution, and then that image might be done and something else will come up as needed. So those, I don't know if that's what you're looking for, Janet, but those are a few images just to give a feel for some of the things. There are really many other things I could mention, but those are a couple.
Very good. Beautiful. All right, Karen, how about you?
Yeah, I've been working with eidetic images for quite some time now, a number of years, and I've really seen the benefits of it in my life very strongly. It's given me one of the main things it's given me is the ability to concentrate deeply, which it kind of I mean, that ability exists in everybody, but it was blocked in me. And so working with some images involving my father showed me sort of where that problem came from, just being very scattered and not sustaining focus. And Jen and I did some very good work around the scattered images of my father. And interestingly enough, we used mythic characters at times to help move the action along in the image. Recently, actually, I did an image of my father showing a very scattering behavior and myself appearing there in the image as a very young child and crying and screaming, and my father's not paying any attention to me. And so Janet, there's a technique that you can use that Janet reminded me of, if need be. There's a number of techniques that can be used, but one of them is calling on a mythic figure, like from spiritual traditions, or mythic traditions, to come into the scene and enter it, and you can then watch what they do, and they tend to help move it along in a better way. They could break through some of the tensions that are there, and they produce solutions to what's going on there. So with this image of my father, I called upon the Hindu god Shiva, Shiva, who I've worked with before, and he's a powerful figure. And he has it's kind of like a spear, but it's a trident, a long, thin metal instrument that has 3 prongs on it. And he uses, in my image, he uses this pronged, it's called a trident. He uses this 3-pronged trident to sort of stop my father in his tracks. Father was like all over the place, just being very aimless, like, just pounding, like he's pounding on a drum, just pounding on the walls in our basement in my childhood home. And so Shiva just takes his trident, and he's just very direct, and he puts the trident up against my father's chest. He's not hurting him with it, but just this very deliberate action of the trident going onto my father's chest stops my father in his tracks. And then there's a bouquet of flowers in a vase to my left, to the child's left, a little ways away in the basement. And as soon as the father is stopped in his tracks, the child stops her screaming and her crying, her yelling. And Shiva just holds that trident up against the father's chest for quite some time. The child calms down, and she spots these flowers, like roses, in this vase, and she is moved to go pick them up and bring them over. And she puts them out to the father, and he's sort of frozen. He's not able to respond. And so she just lays them down in front of him. And she's moved to give a rose to Shiva. So she picks up a rose and gives it to Shiva. And Shiva's taken with it. And he turns to look at her, and there's this communion between myself as this young 4-year-old child and the Hindu god Shiva. And the child starts smiling and laughing, and Shiva is just there for her, which the father was not. Well, a few times that I worked with this situation of father's scatteredness, that Shiva comes in and is able to provide a steadying, quality to the child. And I have had subsequent positive images of my father since that, where I recently had one just the other day, where I see him on the top of a mountain. He looks like a Native American, and he reminds me of a sentinel, like someone from the native tribes who's out there just surveying the land, making sure things are kosher. And he just looks very, very strong and steady. And, that was very steadying for me. It was good that it came through from, what had been coming through with the help of Shiva was now coming through with a positive image of my father's. And also very recently, I had a positive image of my mother, who was like Mary, the mother of Christ, praying to God, and there was this shaft of light coming down upon her. She was just up against a rock and just had her. At first, she was looking up at the light, and then she would look down and just be deep within herself. And me, Karen, the child Karen, again appears. It's young, like 4 or 5 years old. And I'm watching her, and she looks up and sees me, and she smiles. And a strong smile towards me. And that just lit up my body inside. My chest opened up, my solar plexus area, which is between the chest and the abdomen, connected, of course, so they're all connected, but that area right just below the heart and right at the top part of the stomach, the solar plexus. And so those two positive images have come just within a few days of each other. So I feel very strengthened from that. So, concentration is one of the benefits that I've gotten. More positive feelings about myself, more self-esteem, just more strength to handle things in my life and navigate the world. Developed new interests and pursuits, making me want to tread out more into the world. So it's really, given me a new lease on life. And yeah, so it's wonderful. It's wonderful to be engaging with these images and sharing them with others. And yeah, I look forward to doing more of it.
All right. Beautiful.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yeah, it's great to hear you share. It's been great to be on here with Janet, and it's really fun to have someone else on and just hear how much this has meant to you as well is really great.
Thanks. Yeah. I
Okay.
enjoyed.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah.
No, I just want to say I enjoyed hearing your reflections on the work for yourself, Jerry. That is very very nice to hear.
Does it ring a bell, some of it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
No?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. That's a good way of saying it, Jerry. And I'm really happy to see that, because right off the bat, to see that our inner lights light up the things in other people's imagination, it does ring bells that reverberate. And so, we talk a lot about connectivity because it's highly needed, but this is the way to get it, because our bodies have to be there to let the vibes happen. And since we've been trained to leave our bodies out of the picture, we're kind of missing the boat. So, just the first take on what you're saying shows the buoyancy and the self and mutual illumination that is what comes naturally as we do this. So as we go on now, you'll see that eidetic images are the vivacious living images that are the gifts and powers of our imagination. And as they keep filling in the gaps in our inside stories, we feel more whole, as both of you have indicated. And they let us see what we're made of and see how much of this involves mirroring, becoming what we see. And they let us get a hold of ourselves and compose ourselves instead of being stuck on replaying same old stories. And they keep showing us how self and mutually illuminating and healing we can be. So now, as we go on, we're going to demonstrate reciprocal vision, showing how doing eidetic empathy imaging gives us more and more helpful and hopeful common ground to go on. So we're hoping that you can see and sense our images as we tell them, and will then feel moved to follow in our footsteps and see your reciprocal visions of our visions. As you will see, we take our own sweet growing time to give our own and each other's living images time to surface and grow. I can't overemphasize that now in this time when everybody is so pressed for time that they really have no time to do to be in touch with themselves. So now I'm going to ask Jerry and Karen to tell us the reciprocal visions that come to mind when I tell them an image I had recently. It's called uplifting. As I was looking forward to this meeting, the following image woke me up one morning. It keeps standing out in my mind as a glowing tribute to and standing for the essence of my practice of eidetic imaging, which began in 1980. Now I'm eager to see how two fanciers of Mary Oliver's poetry will take this image. In my transformative journaling, I wrote, "The inner trellis. The vision that's waking me up this winter morning is a vision of a vine composed of reddish and golden stems, forming a trellis of themselves, gleaming in the center of my inner darkness. The vine keeps making me smile because it's not just a leafless tangle. It's a vision of upholding. The vertical and horizontal stems are making a trellis of themselves as they're shining out to me, standing for the way in which practicing eidetic imaging grows our inner strengths out of visions that might otherwise appear to be only a tangle of capillaries. I'm seeing this vision as a living eidetic monument to the essential strength of standing and withstanding that sustained concentration on these inner lights of ours can bring out within us. It looks as if my visceral visions decided to pay tribute to themselves and to me in this outstanding way. Yes, my inner voice agrees. Now, let's give reciprocal vision a go. Would you two tell me what my image brings to light in you? Which one?
Yeah. Well, I love the title of it, Uplifting, because that is what I experienced as I imaged into your image, Janet. I see this dark wooden trellis. The wood is dark, and it's up against the side of the house, and a vine, also a rather dark vine, intertwines itself through the wooden structure and growing around it, in and out of it, and around it, and in and out and around it. And I see these colors of golden leaves, and I don't see flowers. I see these wonderful golden leaves. There's burnt orange leaves. There are these deep red burgundy leaves. And there's these very rich golden leaves, shiny. And they go, you know, the vine with these leaves goes all the way up the trellis. The vine is going up with these leaves attached to it, and it's going, it just keeps going up and up. The trellis itself is just this tall, straight structure that reaches up to the heavens, way up above the house. And the vine just keeps going up in and out of the trellis and around it. It's just, such a structure, such an amazing structure. And my whole body feels this sense of upness, total upness, way up. And it's very strengthening, very uplifting is a great word.
A wonderful illustration of the powers of suggestion, huh? But not by hypnosis. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Jerry.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really moved by that image of those planting, the image of those plants, the stems. See the stems rising with these tendrils reaching out, and I'm really moved by the image of the stems making their own trellis. I feel something in my upper arms, just some energy, and I feel in my gut. Just some energy moving. Yeah, it's as if I feel those vines inside me. Just have this image of them actually inside my body, lifting my posture up, intertwining, and there's a meaning coming with it of just these. It's like the images. Something about the images being real and the images building on themselves. Letting them take up more space inside me rather than just I have an image and then it's gone, and maybe I'll have another image sometime. I'm just really getting this sense of something building on itself and taking form. And it is uplifting. Also, it's just, oh, if I have that real strong lattice in me of these intertwining stems, it's a different kind of structure I feel inside myself. I'm just more aware of my spine, my openness, like more open. I like it. And it seems connected to just you asking us to share at the beginning of this call what the imaging has done for us. just sharing a few images, hearing Karen share her images, I just get this real sense of like these images aren't just a quick experience to have and then it's gone, but really something that can really build upon itself. So I'm enjoying the resonance of that inside myself. Yeah.
All right, so that's marvelous, letting the growing powers within us speak through our bodies. So letting nature speak through us, despite what we've been doing to it. These images are letting it speak. And we haven't been paying attention to that. So I hope any indigenous people listening to that will appreciate this this aspect of it. In the next image I want to share, you'll see another evidence of that, which I was just so pleased by. But it's beautiful the way you guys describe it. What? All right, so now I'd like us to share the reciprocal visions that come to mind as we concentrate on the image that a student of mine in prison sent to us. We'll send him a transcript of what we come up with. So I've asked Jerry to read his image. And I sent him a copy of it so that I received in an email.
Yeah, I have it right here. Are you ready for it, Jenna?
I'm ready.
And I'll just read it all the way through. It's not too long.
So what we just want to hear it in a way that'll allow us to do, all of us, including me, to do a reciprocal vision in relation to it.
Sure. Yeah, so once again, I invite you to take a nice deep breath, as deep as the ocean. And feel your mind dropping down into your body. And as I share this, I invite you to see the images and experience how they touch you and move you. So here's E's image that he emailed to Janet. As I sit here on the edge of my bed, looking into an image of me as a young boy, 3 or 4 years of age, walking down the long dirt road that leads to my grandparents' house, I feel a heaviness in my limbs. My shoulders are slumped, my head is facing downward, and I feel an ache in my chest, an emotional pain in my heart. I'm hurting. I feel my brow furrowed in anger from a feeling of anguish as a result of what I now see as the spirit of grief that my mother and sisters and grandparents and aunts and everyone around me is experiencing due to my father's death. I'm too young to fully grasp the significance of it all. I'm feeling abandoned and alone. As I sit here seeing and feeling where in my body this image is touching me, I intensify these feelings. The heaviness in my limbs, the slump in my shoulders, the ache in my chest, from the emotional pain that I feel in my heart. The furrow in my brow that stems from the anger, the hurt, the grief, by giving myself to them, move by move, frame by frame, until I get to where I see that the further I move down the road to my grandparents' house, A feeling of hope gradually comes into play. With the thought of seeing my grandmother's welcoming presence, my shoulders are no longer slumped, my head rises. As I'm looking down the road at the house, the heaviness I was feeling is lifted. My pace is quickening. The ache in my chest, the emotional pain I was feeling in my heart, the hurt, anguish, and abandonment is dissipating and being replaced with joyful expectation. I feel it move by move, frame by frame. The pain in my chest is now a strong beat of my heart, full of what feels like good energy that has me practically skipping down the road. I'm no longer feeling abandoned or alone because the love my grandmother has for me and the love I feel for her. I'll say that again. I'm no longer feeling abandoned or alone because of the love my grandmother has for me and the love I feel for her. I'm expecting her to be glad to see me as I am to see her. I'm expecting my grandmother to be as glad to see me as I am to see her. I'm expecting her to have what makes me feel like a special treat to eat just for me. As a result of experiencing this image, I also have an aha moment as to why it is said that home is where the heart is. Thank you for helping me to get there.
Is either of you ready to go, or do you want me to go first? So, not long after you started, I began seeing myself. I obviously can ambulate, but I'm not much more than a toddler. And I'm walking towards, I grew up in the desert, and this caliche ground, it's chalky white ground. And I see Janny, this infant me, all giggling and eager to meet up with Jasmine, our white pit bulldog. And there's just this gladness there. This, I want to call it roly-poly gladness as Janny goes for Jasmine. And then soon I see an older me, like maybe 5 or so. And I'm jollying down the caliche road. Like, I can't think of the right word for that. I'm just tall, proud, and adventurous, and getting happy to be walking along that road in a very almost kicky, proud way. And again, there's this eagerness and forwardness in her. And I mean, I almost have to laugh because I'm so used to thinking of my childhood as more of a disaster. So to see this proud me, it's like the me that wanted to be the chief baton twirler. I can't tell you, it's really wonderful. It's like burbling across my breast, this unfelt pride of joy burbling along as I'm bouncing along this dusty Caliche road. So that's where my image is going so far, and I'm really thankful for it because it's bringing out an advent. It's an advent of joy, gladness, delight, and bounce, because this is not something that I've been ordinarily feeling, but I could see that I've been wanting to feel that forever since maybe my calling was to be a dancer at age 8. I mean, so I'm very thankful to have this new eager, joyful energy come bouncing in me. So I'm ready. Whoever wants to go next. Looks like Jerry is ready. Yes? You ready, Jerry?
Sure, is that good with you, Karen? Yeah, it's kind of the mix of that first image that your friend shared, Janet, and then your image. I had this clear image come up of being in the station wagon with my parents and all my siblings. There are 7 of us all together in the family. So I have this image of us packed in the station wagon. I'm in the back, and we're driving from upstate New York to Ohio to see my grandparents. And when I see that, I feel a smile coming on my face. I feel some enthusiasm just for being out on an adventure. Uh, yeah, I feel some tingling in my chest. Feel this kind of leaning forward, like I want to see what's out the window of the car. Everything's interesting. The other cars going by, seeing what state they're from on their license plate. So I feel in touch with myself of maybe 8 years old as I lean forward. And I also feel some heaviness, like this is a long trip, and after a while, everyone's tired, and we're crammed in this car. Feel that as kind of some sadness coming down. The image I really have is of one of my siblings getting sick, so just feel this kind of dampening. But then I see us finally arriving at my grandparents' house, and just the doors of the station wagon flying open and everyone getting out, and see my grandmother's smile, see my grandfather, and I feel my grandmother's hug. She's very big. Just feel her engulfing me and squeezing me a little too hard. It's kind of like, like she's just gonna squeeze me like some little squeezy toy. But I just feel this real reassurance also in my flesh, just like, we're here. We're here with Grandma and Grandpa now. We're all together. Feels exciting and comforting, and to see that, once again, this kind of settling down into my belly. Very reassuring to see my grandfather's eyes, his face, and feel his big hands.
What's happening in your body there?
Yeah. It's like I feel some of my grandfather's face in my face, my chest. Just when I really look at him, I just kind of see his stature. He was, yeah, his face looks kind. He looks dignified, humble, little trickster in his twinkle in his eye, and I just feel my own stature when I look at him, and seeing my 8-year-old self with him. I just really kind of idolize my grandfather. Yeah, just feel strong, feel solid in myself looking at him. Seeing my dad also after that long trip. That's seeing my mom. Yeah, just this great feeling of oh, we're here, we made it, we're all here, and we're all together. Just very comforting on the whole.
All right. Well, I can't help but say that that twinkling in your grandfather's eye brings out the twinkling in my father's eye, which is one of the most important images I keep having of him.
Hmm. Yeah, I get that.
All right. I mean, there's just really no greater joy than the radiance of that when I see my father's twinkling eye. All right. We're ready for you, Karen.
Okay, so both of your images into E's image were just amazing. I uh, I see myself as a young child of about 3, sitting on the floor in my bedroom in my childhood house, and I have like some colored blocks that I'm playing with, but I'm actually distraught, and I'm just sort of like knocking them down on the floor, and I start to cry, and it's just like, really crying hard, not loud, but just sort of crying inside my body. And I'm crying because I hear my parents, my bedroom, the bedrooms were on the second floor um, of the house, and my parents are in the kitchen or in the living room. They're on the first floor. I just hear them yelling. They're having an argument. And my mother breaks down, and she comes upstairs and she goes into her bedroom and closes the door, and she's crying on her bed. Um, she's just, and so um, she, my father's hurt her, not physically, but I mean, he's hurt her emotionally with just some of his stuff that he says, or how he acts towards her. And my father comes up the stairs and opens my bedroom door, and I look up at him, and he doesn't even seem to recognize that this is similar to what I've experienced before with him, with negative imagery of him. He doesn't seem to respond to the fact that I'm crying. He just has his own agenda. And he just, I look up at him and I see that he makes like this symbol with his finger on his side of his head, like, and then he goes like this, knocking his head with his hand, like this symbol that he used when he was trying to convey his feeling that my mother was cuckoo or something, or she's too much to take, for him is what it was. But he wants collusion on the feeling with me. And he wants the collusion with me on his feeling of her being off the wall, and like you can't deal with her. She's just too much. She's cuckoo. And but I just stand up and I push him and I knock him down, and he's just taken aback. And I run out of the room. I run down the stairs. I run out, open the door, and run out of the house. And I'm just running. Run. And it feels so good to just get out of that space. And I just keep on running. And one of my grandmothers, the grandmother that figures in the image, actually lived about 5 hours northwest of New York City, where we were living. So I see myself running like on the highway, over to the side, not right with the cars, but running on the side of the highway. And I've just got like this tremendous energy to keep going. And I actually run to my grandmother's house. And, I go up the stairs to her porch. And she's looking, she opens like a little curtain by the door, and she's looking out at me, and she has this sweet smile on her face, like, oh, what are you doing here? And she opens the door, and I'm little, I'm like 3. And she opens the door, and she was a sweet grandmother, and her sweetness is coming through here. She just crouches down, and I feel so happy to see her. I feel so happy to see her sweet smiling face. And again, you both talked about the twinkle in the eye. She has I see a little bit of that twinkle in her eye too. And she's twinkly, she's light and effervescent. She's not all this heavy, complicated emotional stuff that was going on in my house. And I follow her. She beckons me in, and I follow her into the kitchen. And she opens the refrigerator, and she takes out a cake. She made a homemade strawberry shortcake with lots of whipped cream on it. And she cuts me a piece. And I see myself sitting at her kitchen table with her, and we're both eating pieces of this strawberry shortcake, this homemade cake that she made with so much cream. And it's just so wonderful. I feel like the weight of the family scene has been lifted off. And it's good, feels good.
All right. May I ask you to go back and feel that moment where you have to keep going? Will you just concentrate on that a minute and see what happens in your body when you feel that keep going?
Yeah. Yeah, the child just has this great drive to go where it feels safe and where it feels pleasant to be. And I always did love going up to see my grandmother and being upstate with her and in her house.
You did.
And so, yeah, the body, yeah. I just see the child running on the road. She's just determined. I actually see her running down the road outside the house first. And I feel it in my torso and in the muscles of the solar plexus area and the chest and the intestines, the abdomen area, abdominal area. And just running, just going, just keep running. And I have just had like, I feel like there's wings on my feet. I mean, I'm not airborne, but there is a sense of wings on the back of my shoes. And I'm running over the Whitestone Bridge in Queens, New York. And then I'm on the highway. There's like this release of energy.
And what happens now when you experience the happiness? What happens in your body as imager when you feel the happiness?
The energy goes more up into the upper part of the body, up into the chest area. There was some chest muscles of the chest that were involved in some of the running, but this, when I'm at the grandmother's house and I'm knocking, I see her. I don't knock on the door. Actually, I get ready to knock on the door, but I see her peeking through the little window by the door, pulling the curtain back, smiling at me. And the energy goes further up into my chest, and the chest opens more. And I feel more relieved in my shoulders and in my arms and hands. And the energy goes up into the neck and the face and the muscles on the face. And it just goes up with the feeling of being so happy to see her and loving to see her face and her twinkle. And it's like a little bit of a twinkle in her smile and impish. Yeah.
So you see that when you look back at the image, then more of that good energy comes forward. So when you concentrate on it again, it's not on replay because there's more life in it that's wanting to show forth, right? Yeah. All right. Beautiful. I wrote up this other image. It's called upholding. Following upon yesterday's vision of little Janny looking up to Mommy and being taken up into Mommy's arms, today's waking vision brings to life Janny, firmly seated in Mommy's arms as their smiles are embracing each other's faces. I'm now feeling the strength of Mommy standing in my steadfast feet and the firmness of her hold on Janny's legs rising throughout my body. The striations of splitness and separation I've long been feeling have turned into a gratifying unity of inner strengths. I feel thankful to my love for standing by me long enough for us both to see our unfortunate distancings give rise to visions of mother love, long buried alive deep down in our heart of hearts. Contemplating the sturdiness of this love, I feel ripplings of clapping throughout my abdomen and senses of pleasantness dawning on my cheeks, lips, and eyes. In agreement, a vision of the long leaves of my spider plant comes into play, showily spreading out in fuller green array. Yes, my inner voice agrees. No longer the mother of sorrowful distances, my mother is now the mother cherishing glee she always wanted to be, deep down in her heart of hearts. So I would welcome, if you are moved to do so, to see yourself in Janny's position and see a reciprocal vision. As I see it, reciprocal visions let our inner lights mingle as beautifully as sunlight wriggling through the depths of a swimming pool. I welcome both of you to tell us what you're seeing. Who's ready?
I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, what a wonderful image, Janet. And I'd love to have a copy of that, your image of Jenny with her mother and that amazing connection between the two of you. That's wonderful. And I see myself in my mom's arms. I'm young, like maybe 2 or 3, and she's smiling at me, and I'm smiling at her. Oh, it's nice. I feel it in my face. My face feels open, and um, the muscles in my face kind of tingly, and my eyes are open, kind of opened, and I can feel sort of a clear. My eyes feel very clear, and there's no problem there at all. It's just pure positive encounter. That's really beautiful.
What you just did was one of the prettiest things I've ever seen on video. Your hands just came together like this in ways that just have reverberate with meaning. It was really lovely. All right. Okay, Jerry.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought in a mother image as well, Janet. And I love that, Karen. Um, I see my mom holding myself at 2, 3 years old, and it's just like my as I'm seeing that, my body's trying to take that in. Like, what is that? What is that to be held by my mom? And what comes is that there's music playing. My mom's got some music on the radio with some kind of lively rhythm to it, and that she's moving. She's moving me with me in her arms. Yeah. And then I see my mom about a decade ago. It's just like that, and feeling being in her arms with the music is like a portal into uh, seeing my mom about a decade ago. She's visiting me in Hawaii, and we go out to see some live music, and we see this Hawaiian musician Willie K. And I see my mom really getting into the music, and just watch her kind of so captivated by this very captivating musician. And she looks at me. I can see the look on her face, like just like see my mom looking at me with this like shared understanding, like this guy's amazing. This music is amazing, and it's so great to be here together experiencing this. Feel that as kind of a glow in my, just in the front of my body, front of my chest, and then I see again myself as a little one in her arms, and just some of that energy I described of her a decade ago, just feeling some of that recognition in our gaze and our touch in the music. It's just like a very multi-sensory whole experience of that feeling of being up off the ground in her arms and in the music and that shared eye contact. Yeah, feels incredible to take that in and really get that's something I have with my mom. Just feel that. Yeah, just makes me want to slow down and take that in, let it sink in. I don't remember ever really really contemplating or taking in that I was actually held by my mother as a little one. Of course I was, but I've never really felt it or seen it in this way. Yeah, thank you.
The way you described that made me feel, that's the secret of the success between us, that you had a beautiful dancing partner early on.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, from the first time that we spoke, you know, and you took me up that river, um, it is that understanding of the fluency of movement that we connected with early on.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. And I love both your images helped me get there. There's no way I would have gotten there had you not each shared what you shared. So it is really a gift. It is really a gift because it's so rich to feel that and just take that in and let it kind of fill me up. It's
The tingling mingling of our inner lights.
yeah.
Make me teary happy, teary happy.
Thanks for your image, Jerry. It was just wonderful how I liked the way you moved from yourself as the young child in your mother's arms to seeing her about a decade ago, and how, you know, you got into the whole thing with music and rhythm and bodies connected to music. And I was very positive. I really loved that.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. The other piece I'll just add is that my mom has Alzheimer's now. She's doing pretty well, but she's definitely gone through some changes in recent years. But music is still such a like good source of good feelings for her. I know. So it's still a way that we connect. Even if we're not having a complex conversation, we can still just be together and enjoy music together. And that shared knowing of how much each of us loves it.
I would like to say something to that, because I saw a performance recently where the man next to me was obviously very much disabled, and his wife was obviously very spunky, and she was like stroke the back hairs in the back of his neck, but he was sitting there almost motionless most of the time throughout this performance, and which was really more of a lecture, until the person started playing his guitar. And then this old man raised his hand and he started dancing with every little joint in the music perfectly, highly syncopated. And it was so expressive of the capability in there that somehow should not have been lost, because it's still there. Yeah. And he kept perfect time with rather complex, syncopated, you know, but you know, he was only given that little moment, and then the hand went down. But it just says so much for what we have to honor. And if we honored it, we wouldn't lose it, I dare say. So is there anything, this has been magnificent. I'm very thankful to both of you. Is there anything you would like to say now? In conclusion, to meeting in depth?
Yeah, looking deeply and taking the time to move more deeply into these images and allow them their full flow out. Um, just like what you were just saying, Jerry, they're just so, it's such a gift, it's so rich. Um, and I like the sharing, the reciprocal vision sharing, where um, we put ourselves into the shoes of the other person in that person's image, and we have our own image unfold for us and unroll, and we can pick up on different energies, some different energies in the other person's image, and then we have our own uh, experiences in our image, and there's like this great interplay. It's like Janet's image of the vine and of the intertwining of bodies and souls and uh, our inner beings. It's great.
Maybe you gave us a good name, interplay.
Yeah, I love that. Um, yeah, very much like playing music together, and like jazz is really the closest thing I can relate it to, where it's like you play and then I take in what you're playing, and then it lands in me somehow, and it kind of moves through me, and then it comes back out in my own way, and then Janet hears it and takes it in, and it just like moves through everything that Janet is, and then it comes out as her expression. I know you've been wanting to play like this for a long time, Janet, so it's really great. I really get your vision with this, and I'm really glad to be a part of it.
Well, I'm glad, because you see, I have the experience that third graders love it, seniors love it, people in intensive care love it, people in prison love it. And several of them have said everybody should be doing this, and I couldn't agree more. So I think you've now made it clear why that's possible. And I'm very grateful to you both for that.
Yeah, thanks, Janet. I know you've shared so much with me, and well, Karen can speak for herself, but I think what she shared before um, let me know that we've both gotten a lot out of this. So thanks so much for sticking with it and being so eager to share. It's really special.
Well, I'm going to say that persistence is very much of the essence of it. And I even dare say that the civilization of interruption that we're living in is trying to deprive us of the persistence that is vital to our well-being. And so I'm glad we've done such a thoroughgoing demonstration of what sustained concentration can do. Without it, we've really had it. With it, look at the marvel of it. So more to the buoyancy of persistence. Because that determination that are like came forth so powerfully in Karen's image there. I mean, that's still alive in us decades later. Just let it be, because it's going for the happiness, right? It's going for the smile that made us feel most welcome. All right. Therefore, welcome to Wellsprings. All right. So now, is there anything you want to say off the record? We can turn it off, or just decide that that's the end and keep talking on the record, whichever you prefer.
But I didn't get to respond after your share about the running, Karen, or maybe I went somewhere else with it. But I really love that image when Janet invited you to go back into the keep on moving. Once you started telling me about what you were feeling as you were seeing your young self running alongside the highway, and then these wings on your heels, I really felt that. I felt like I got something about how kids operate, and how kids just have this real tenacious capacity to keep going even when challenging things are happening. You know, I know that can leave some scars and some marks, but yeah, there's so much vitality and power and strength in that, and I really got that in a different way when you shared that.
Thanks for your comments, Jerry. Yeah, I was really happy, Janet, that you prompted me to look into the body connection there to that experience of the running. It did deepen it for me, deepen that part of the image for me. And even when, the happiness to get into the body response of the happiness with the appearance of my grandmother, that was also deepened. So, that's the key. One of the important keys is the deepening of the responses, and particularly in the body. The body really holds so much of the experience, and if you're in touch with what's happening in the body, you can the emotions and the meaning just can flow easily through the body.
The word experience, per, means out of, going through. And we've been taught to be objective and leave all the going through out of it. And that turns out to leave most of it out of it. So that's the simple secret of it, is the getting with it instead of being out of it. And then the illumination and interest, excitement, all that, a full array, then it immediately begins to communicate to the other people. It's not a labored process, right? This commune, come is what with, mune is one, communication. When you let the vibes of your whole sensory apparatus speak, then people pick up on it right away.